Hi there, it's Vlad. Today it's the 8th day of my commitment, talking to the camera 100 days in a row. And now I'm gonna talk about English podcast, which I started making yesterday. And I also would like to emphasize that my goal now is to work on my pronunciation, on my grammar, and on my body language. So essentially, I think all these videos, which I'm going to record for the next 92 days, I'm going to train myself to be as clear as I can. I would like to avoid mistakes in my speech, to use better grammar, and focus on my body language. So the form, by form I mean, of course, all these everything related to how I say and not to what I say. So the form, I'm going to work on the form, and the form is the first thing which I aim to improve. And the second thing, of course, is the content, to really not to speak about like useless, meaningless stuff, and just focus on what's really important and what I need to do, what I need to work on, etc. So again, English podcast. Yesterday we recorded an episode with Vlad, and it took us for about 2 hours. So since it was the first time, we had to figure out how to plug the microphones, how to like do all this stuff, and again, it's like it took maybe an hour for preparation, and the whole thing was lasting for 50 minutes. Our dialogue, our conversation, and out of these 50 minutes, I made 35 minutes podcast. And the one sad thing which happened was my computer, my laptop, it started lagging, and I missed like 5 minutes of our conversation. So we had two microphones and two computers, and they both recorded the speech separately, and then I had to put two speeches one on the other. But the problem was that some of my questions they just disappeared, and we had to cut few questions, and it took me also a lot of time to make this podcast. I mean, when I came home, I started working in a program, in a video editor, and it took me 3 hours to edit this. Made I made like where I lost my recording, and to replace them, to cut them. But eventually it got quite funny and interesting, and I think, yeah, I really like to work on it. I think in the future I'm gonna learn how to make it better. I think I will dedicate an hour every day and work, like get lots of information which I can find to learn how to make podcasts, because I also watch lots of different podcasts. Well, not different, but I watch Lex Friedman a lot. I guess it's my favorite podcast, and I really enjoy how he does it. And I think I have knowledge about podcasts in terms of, like, I know how it should look like, but how to do that, how to make all these preparations, how to edit, how to, like, all these details which are needed to produce a great podcast. Of course, now it's like it's all uh, I need to work on it. And of course, it's me. I need to work on my language, to learn how to be persuasive, how to speak clearly, how to ask appropriate questions. And it also takes a tremendous amount of time to work on all of that. I don't like about the conversation that it got more formal than I expected. I prepared 25 questions. We took just 23 or 22 of them, but it wasn't a natural discussion because with Vlad it's like we know each other for a couple of years, more than 2 years, and we had many conversations in English, and those conversations I really enjoyed them because with Vlad it's like I guess in terms of speaking English, it's one of the best partner to make a good conversation. So I wouldn't say that I had conversations in English with somebody else which were better than those which I had with Vlad. Even with native speakers, like I had many conversations with native speakers, especially with one particular person who comes to our club. But I didn't really enjoy those conversations in a way as I enjoy conversations with Vlad, because in these conversations I had to argue a lot, and we actually with John, this the second person with whom I want to make the next podcast. With John, I don't have such like in Vlad, for example. With Vlad, we are both interested in self-help, in the self-improvement, and in psychology. And with John, it's like it's almost impossible to talk about these things because he doesn't like them. Basically, he thinks that psychology is kind of really a really terrible thing. But anyway, so it's like, well, I'm not saying that he doesn't like psychology like totally, but for him it's like he doesn't like to work on himself. He doesn't like to study himself. He doesn't like to write. He doesn't. It's like it's almost impossible to like to do the same work which I do, and which I may talk about with Vlad, because we're just both doing that. Because it's like seems that this guy's like I'm talking nonsense. Anyway, so the podcast, yeah, I really like it, and I like to make many different podcasts, and and I guess I need to focus on it and make less, like to avoid these ends all the time, because I think it's really good to focus on grammar and find a way to speak with finished sentences. For example, now if I reflect on this talk, I would say that from the very beginning I started talking about the podcast, and I didn't make any any pauses, and I always continued the same sentence, adding all the time and, or maybe I started every new sentence. Like if now I make a script of my conversation or subtitles, it's going to be like always and, and I think it's a big problem in my English. I need to learn how to finish sentences. So for example, I said something and it's gonna be finished, and after that I may start developing a new sentence, maybe using different words like however, but, although, therefore, hence, because most of the sense, like, it looks so ugly. So whenever I watch it, I don't like it, and it bothers me, and I can't do anything with that. I can focus on my attention on this when I talk about it, but when I talk about something else, when I start talking about the podcast, I don't make really differences in so my structure, the structure of my grammar, the structure of my speech is very immature. I don't know how to say it correctly. But the idea is, I don't make these pauses, And that's why there are lots of during a speech. And this, it's like, because from one side, they help me to make connections between my words, and from the other, it looks as if I'm afraid to finish a sentence. It looks as if I'm afraid to lose my thought. That's why I always use and. So I guess I just need to do that. To stop, to make one clear sentence, then stop, wait for 1-2 seconds, then continue. Yeah, yeah, it's just the way how I need to train my body language, my pronunciation, and my grammar. Finish sentences. Okay, now it's 12 minutes. I guess I need to finish. Maybe I need to say a few words about my new ideas, which I started working on yesterday evening. It's like not new ideas, but just one essential idea, purpose, and we are going to discuss it at the end of the week at the speaking club. And again, and. Well, that's so crazy. But anyway, I think it's really amazing, this new idea. Let me tell what I mean by this new idea. It's a training which I'm gonna do every day during this commitment, and I want to talk about purpose for at least 5 minutes. And then after doing that for a couple of days, 3, 4, 5 days, I'd like to talk about it at the speaking club. And I'd like to talk about it in the same way, just for 5 minutes, and ask people not interrupt me. At the speaking club, we have an introductory section. And at this point, everybody just tells their names and usually talks about the topic. And I'd like to, and usually when it's finished, I don't take a part in this introduction. I don't talk about the topic. I just present the first question and we start discussion. But now I think it's really important to focus. I did it a few times before we ceased our meetings in the spring because of coronavirus, and I lost during this half a year of not having these meetings. I lost lots of amazing ideas, which I'm just starting to recover them. So the idea again, 5 minutes. I'm just standing or sitting and talking about the topic uninterruptedly, and like maybe 50% spontaneously, 50% maybe I'll prepare something. But the whole idea is just to ask other people, they would to ask them to listen to what I'm going to say about the topic, and I'd like to talk about it more than anybody else, because for me it's really fascinating just to practice my public speaking skill, because I am a leader and I need to talk about the topic, and that's I may train myself to do that here, and then I may apply whatever I develop here. It's like whatever I will find important to say about the topic, I'd like to talk about it in front of the not in front of the camera, but in our meeting. Okay, now I think it's time to finish again. How to reach this state when you feel completely engaged and you are not bothered with your pronunciation, with your mistakes, when it's all clear. I need to do that. I really I'd like to do that, but I'm still I'm still not sure what exactly should I do to get there. But I'll guess I'll figure out it in the future. Okay, bye bye.